Hello, this is Craig Resnick coming to you from the 2023 ARC Advisory Group Orlando Forum. With me today is my special guest, Alvaro Rozo, who's, by the way, is the head of product and technologies at Uptake. How you doing today, Alvaro?
Pretty good. Thank you, Craig, for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here today. To move quickly with industrial analytics, organizations often build use case linkage to OT data. What are some of the disadvantages of that approach?
Yeah, so we see a trend in the market in terms of enabling the analytics community in general. So clients are actually looking to prove the case around how they actually enable that analytics. So they normally start with off-the-shelf type of solutions, but at the same time, we see a lot of the market basically moving towards building their own type of solutions. What they found in general is as they start building those type of solutions, the scalability aspects become a fundamental aspect once they prove that case, right? So those are the aspects that we actually take care in terms of some of the solutions that we provide, is having the ability to scale the analytics and the industrial data that they are actually consuming to be able to enable those use cases that they are looking for.
Okay. In a perfect world, with data coming off of equipment, sensors, and devices that would be accessible to operators and specialist engineers and data scientists, why is that so hard to achieve?
I think in general, we see a lot of standards coming into the market to enable the systems to basically integrate with other components, but still there is a fundamental aspects around where those systems resides within the overall Purdue model. Is behind the firewall. There is a lot of cybersecurity component. Typically, the groups are completely isolated to one another, and those becomes kind of like silos of information to enable the data science community and the citizen data science that organizations are trying to enable to basically get access to that information. So that's one of the fundamental aspects that I think is basically constraining some of those components. The other aspects is that many of these systems are very constrained in terms of the hardware. They are critical systems, so people are very careful in terms of how they integrate with those systems. And typically, there is a pushback from the side to enable that data to be exposed from at the enterprise level, right?
Yeah. I know Uptake has a unique approach to overcoming a lot of those challenges. So tell us about the Industrial Analytics Data Hub.
So the Industrial Data Analytics Hub starts with the philosophy behind that there is no single company that can provide an entire analytics solution for an entire value chain for a client. So what our focus is around how do we enable that ecosystem and that community of analysis that needs to happen. Some of those may come from internal groups, and we see large corporations basically building data science teams that they need to get access to that information. But at the same time, we see areas where there is a B2B, business-to-business integration with other firms that they provide service as a service into the cloud environment. They need to get access to the same piece of information, right? So what Uptake does is basically enable the clients to manage their data inside their own tenancy, so they have full control in terms of how that information flows into internal teams and external teams as they go. And while we protect as well the underlying systems that often are limited in terms of the hardware, so the demand of data is going to grow, and the performance of those systems can degrade, which basically affects the criticality of that system.
What types of industries and analytic environments does Uptake Fusion support?
So our emphasis is around the process industry. We started a lot with partnership with oil and gas companies in the market. We grew into the chemical organizations where we see a tendency around multiple historians being implemented inside the market. And the reason why we emphasize around the historians is because in order to enable analytics, you need to get access to historical information to enable the training data sets, the development data sets that the citizen data science community requires. And we don't see one single historian being assistant in many of these environments. At the same time, many of the historians are limited in terms of the licensing aspects. So not that many organizations has an enterprise level agreement with some of these firms, and the data components that they have in there are probably limited and not enough to basically enable some of those use cases that they are able. So we jump into now, how do we liberate the information coming from systems in the SCADA world, in the DCS world, and at the same time, we also see a tendency where the plans hasn't been instrumented completely, and that's where we see the IoT devices jump into play because they are easy to install, low-cost perspective, and we can consume that information as well.
You had a long-term partnership with Microsoft. So what way do you amplify their cloud environment?
Yeah, so the cloud environment from Microsoft provide a framework across multiple industries in general. So this is building information and the rest. Our emphasis is around how do we enable the protocols and the systems that typically we found in the process industries So think around the chemical facilities, oil and gas, petrochemical refineries, textile as well. So it doesn't have to be like a large environment. We enable that information to flow. We amplify from the connectivity aspects to enable that information to gather from the central repositories. And at the same time, we augment the resource capabilities that Microsoft have to speak the language of the OT world. So in that way, the analytics and the data science community can actually find the information within context with typical models that we configure based on the type of applications that they have. So we provide a good view in terms of how the information needs to flow into those analytics.
You know, at the conference, I met a gentleman named from Phillips 66. And he shared some information with me that Uptake has been, you know, an instrumental partner in helping them build a data platform that can scale multiple use cases and personas. So how would you summarize the work you did for Phillips 66?
Yeah, so I'm not going to steal the thunder from Chris for tomorrow. Okay. He's presenting tomorrow at 4 p.m. But what I can tell you is that some of the use cases that we are enabling for Phillips 66 is to enable the community of analytics that they need to have. I'll give you an example of something that we did with them is in terms of enabling a SaaS provider that basically emphasizes around pipeline integrity with large amount of information coming from the OT environment to be able to provide that level of insights to their team.
Oh, that sounds great. Can't wait to hear the presentation.
Excellent.
Thanks a lot, Alvaro. Thank you for being here. And again, this is Craig Resnick coming to you from the 2023 ARC Advisory Group Orlando Forum. Thank you so much. Have a great day.